is to approach the dais. If you wish to participate in today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the sergeant at arms. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Frank Morano. I have the privilege of chairing the Committee on Veterans. I want to thank everybody for joining us or watching on television or on the internet. And this is a hearing that I've been very, very eager to do. This oversight hearing is about serving post 9/11 veterans. The committee is looking forward to hearing from the New York City Department of Veterans Services, particularly their distinguished commissioner, and other stakeholders, including veterans themselves, veteran advocates, and anybody that's been paying attention to this issue on how the city is doing in serving this unique and growing population of veterans. Before diving into our oversight topic, I also want to mention that we will be hearing the following piece of legislation, and anybody is welcome to comment on this legislation as well. This is intro number 0488 2026, which is sponsored by my colleague, Councilmember Ina Vernikov, which would require an annual report from the Department of Housing Preservation and Development on the number of veterans applying for housing in city-run Mitchell-Lama developments, the number of veterans being selected for occupancy, and the documentary requirements and safeguards in place to ensure that applicants benefiting from a veteran preference are, in fact, veterans. And we will have Councilmember Vernikov speak about her bill in just a bit. Now, as far as our oversight topic goes, New York City is home to anywhere between 125,000 and 200,000 veterans, including nearly 28,000 who have served in the post 9/11 era. This is a generation whose military service has been shaped by September 11th and extended deployments to, among other places, the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. And these are folks that are now building their lives here in New York City. This is the hearing that I've been particularly eager to do. Growing up in Staten Island and knowing so many first responders that died in the World Trade Center, it really marks a moment in my life of before and after, not only in terms of the issues that were related to Ground Zero, but all of the military conflicts that happened afterwards. But when it comes to the issue of post 9/11 veterans, so many of the other conflicts that I've studied over the years, so many of the veterans that I've talked to, it's really something that I've largely viewed as happening before, as being history. The post 9/11 veterans, for me, are my peers. This is the first group of veterans that have either been the same age or younger than me, and that it causes you to view it through a very different worldview. And the more I've dug into the issues related to post 9/11 veterans, the more I've seen how unique the challenges that they're facing are, and how unique the skill set that they bring to the table in so many different fields are. Just like veterans of World War I and the first Persian Gulf War, they've had all sorts of new health issues that the existing healthcare infrastructure wasn't necessarily well suited to address. Just like victims of World War II, some of them came home with very visible injuries, which in some cases affected not only their physical ability to do certain jobs, but their mental outlook. Just like veterans of Vietnam, some of the conflicts that they were involved in weren't that popular, and believe it or not, that actually reflected in a lot of the ways that their folks were greeting them when they came back from fighting overseas. And just like veterans of the Korean War and other conflicts, they've had a lot of ailments that aren't necessarily visible. But the two things that separate them now in this era that we're living in now are, one, the fact that unlike veterans that came home from Vietnam, from World War II, from Korea, we have a much, much lower percentage of the population that are veterans. that has served in the military. So whereas if you came home in a prior conflict, you had a pretty good chance of running into a veteran at the bowling alley or at the Elks Club or at a neighborhood restaurant, it's much, much fewer and far between in terms of encountering post 9/11 veterans. The other issue is because of the age of a lot of the folks that we're talking about here, they are not retirees in many instances. They are still in the midst of their career. They're still in the midst of starting a family, managing their family, being a head of household, balancing all of that while potentially trying to fight with state, city, and federal bureaucracy about the benefits that they're entitled to. So this is a group that I am very, very committed to serving, to helping, and to using this hearing as a platform to find out how the city council can best do that. My goal in this hearing is not only to focus the attention of the city council on issues that are related to post 9/11 veterans and to try to come up with as much legislation that we can do to help them. If there's budgetary priorities that need to be refocused in their direction, we're going to try to do that. But it's also to focus the attention of the public on the plight of post 9/11 veterans. Unfortunately, one of the things that's in the city council now is you don't have a single veteran. And what that often leads to is a veteran's perspective being ignored. I can tell you, my colleagues on the left and on the right, when I talk to them about veterans issues, every single one of them seems eager to help. Folks on the left are eager to prioritize healthcare related issues and housing and things and social services related issues. Folks on the right, they're desperate to do anything to prove their determination to serve people in uniform and folks that they believe have fought for America. Veterans issues should be the one area where there is no debate, where there is universal consensus on not whether we should do something, but how much we could do. And unfortunately, budgetarily, the veterans in this city are still not getting their just due. I'm determined through these hearings, particularly this one, to make sure that the perspective of veterans is heard. And I am going to be amplifying what we hear today throughout every corner of this city, especially in my district in New York City. The other thing about post 9/11 veterans that's very different from their predecessors, and I'm sure you'll hear this from others today that are more expert than me, is because of the change in women being able to serve in combat. It's a much higher percentage of people that are female veterans. Because of the abolition of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, there's a much higher percentage of LGBTQ folks. Those all bring with it a very separate set of challenges. And because of what everybody's in New York City is facing right now, the issue of affordability, you have a situation where in New York City, veterans are trying to, in some cases, transition back to civilian life while battling the issues of affordability, which make New York not so affordable for so many. At this point, before I introduce my other colleagues, I want to welcome the aforementioned council member Ina Vernikov. Before she talks about her legislation, the folks of this city should know what a warrior council member Vernikov is for veterans. I think it says a great deal. The fact that her aide is a combat veteran who's himself a post 9/11 veteran, Troy, but she is someone who eats, breathes, and sleeps veterans issues, not just for the veterans that live and are fortunate enough to have her as a council member in Brooklyn, but for veterans throughout this city. And I can tell you on this specific piece of legislation, this is not a new issue for her, and she's worked doggedly to get it passed in the last city council, and hopefully we can do it in this city council. Councilmember Vernikov, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Morano. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see Introduction 488 before this committee today. Intro 48 would require that the Department of Housing Preservation and Development submit reports on veteran preference in Michelama developments. My rationale for this bill is simple. This is a great resource already in place for those who have served this country, and too many are missing out on it. New York City is home to more than 100,000 veterans, including over 30,000 in the borough of Brooklyn. Michelama housing dates back to the 1950s, has many of the qualities that New Yorkers seek and that veterans need. Every Michelama building is an elevator building, which is high up there as a top need. The veterans' preference on Michelama waiting lists for housing is one of the great tools we must utilize not only to combat veterans' homelessness or veterans facing housing insecurity, but do so in a way that is permanent, affordable, and sustainable to keep veterans in our city at a time when the cost of living is far too high. All too often, this resource for veterans falls by the wayside. At a Veterans Committee hearing last session, former Commissioner James Hendon of the Department of Veterans Services said that the top issue facing the city's veterans is not self-identifying as a veteran. This pattern extends to veteran preference as well. It's not widely known about. At a recent legislative breakfast hosted by the VFW in Queens, housing was identified as a top need facing the city's veterans. In a 2012 report by the Office of the State Comptroller, 18 sampled Michelama housing developments with open waiting lists were reviewed. These developments filled 332 vacancies during the review period, and only 14 of which were filled by a veteran. Those findings also found that veterans were passed over for vacancies at some locations, including 2 developments in Manhattan. These developments are suitable housing for all sorts of veterans in a variety of financial situations and represent a permanent investment in the city because those who get into Michelama housing often like it and stay there. As a city, we need to do a better job of ensuring this preference is known about and that veterans' preference is taking place on selections. I'd like to thank this committee for hearing this bill, Chair Morano, members of the committee, and all those who are here today. And I ask that my colleagues sign on to Intro 488. And I also like to thank Mike Munoz, who's a veteran here with us today, who has utilized this preference, and Troy Olson, my legislative director, who is also a veteran, as mentioned earlier, for their service to this great country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Vernikoff. Here in New York, the challenges that post 9/11 veterans are facing are particularly evident. More than half of recently separated veterans report a service-connected disability, and about 1 in 4 experience symptoms of PTSD or depression. And while most are insured, many are working. Too many report difficulty navigating care services or knowing where to turn. And when all these systems fail, often one of the clearest and most immediate consequences is housing instability. And in a city where securing housing is one of the hardest and most expensive endeavors, many newly transitioned veterans find themselves literally at the brink of homelessness and sometimes actually homeless. While over the past decade, New York City has reduced veteran homelessness by more than 85%, declining from over 4,600 veterans in shelters in 2011 to just over 600 in 2024. This progress doesn't eliminate the risk that many post 9/11 veterans face, and we're going to work just as hard until that number goes from 600 to 0. I'm looking forward to today's testimony and to strengthening support for post 9/11 veterans throughout New York City. I want to acknowledge my colleagues on the committee who are here today, and folks should know who are watching on television or in the room that we come from very different backgrounds, different political parties, different ethnicities, different boroughs, but we are all absolutely 100% united in how to best serve New York's veterans, particularly post 9/11 veterans. I first want to welcome Councilmember Phil Wong. Thank you. And Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa. Thank you. And Councilmember Vernikoff, who you just heard from. I also want to conclude by thanking the Veterans Committee staff, policy analyst Mahnur Butte, financial analyst Margaret Barnsley for their hard work in preparing for this hearing. But I want to give a special thank you to our legislative counsel, Alejandro Carvajal, who has moved on to greener pastures, and this will be his last committee hearing as our legislative counsel. And I'll tell you, Alejandro, my only regret about our time together is that it's been too short. And you certainly have left big shoes to fill for Hannah Cohn, the colleague to your right. So thank you. All right. I want to now turn it over to our committee counsel to administer the oath to witnesses from the administration, at least 3/4 of whom are joining me in color coordinating wearing red in solidarity with our veterans. Thank you.
Good morning. Could you please raise your right hands? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions? I'll call on you one by one. Commissioner Mata,
Yes, I do.
Danae Smalls,
Yes, I do.
Nicole Orlando,
Yes, I do.
Derek Bray.
Noah Bray. Yes, I do.
Oh, sorry about that.
Worries.
Wrong on the slip.
It sounded like he said no, right? First, right? Didn't everybody think he said no?
Thank you. As a reminder to all of our witnesses, please state your name for the record prior to your testimony. Thank you so much, and you may begin.
Good morning, Chair Morano and members of the Committee on Veterans. My name is Yesenia Mata, and I am the Commissioner of the New York City Department of Veteran Services. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on the needs of post-9/11 veterans and the city's effort to serve this generation. You may notice that my team and I are wearing red today to remember and honor those who are currently deployed. This work is deeply personal to me. I still serve in uniform as a captain in the United States Army Reserve, and I have the privilege of leading an agency shaped in no small part by fellow post-9/11 veterans who are committed every day to making New York City a better place for those who have served. Post-9/11 veterans now represent a significant share of the veteran community nationally, comprising roughly 28% of the total veteran population. Here in New York City, our data reflects a comparable presence. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, approximately 28,555 veterans in New York City, or about 23% of the city's veteran population, served in the post-9/11 era. The highest concentration of these veterans are in Queens, followed by Brooklyn. Here in New York City, they are among our most diverse and highly educated veterans, bringing valuable skills and leadership to our communities. Looking at education alone, there are over 6,000 students and dependents using their post-9/11 GI Bill education benefits across the 5 boroughs. Data at both the national and local level shows that post-9/11 veterans are often earlier in their civilian journeys, as many separate from service after their initial enlistment or shortly thereafter. While service lengths vary, a significant portion serve between roughly 5 and 10 years, meaning many are transitioning into the workforce, pursuing higher education, or exploring entrepreneurship at a critical stage in their lives. At the same time, research shows this cohort experiences higher levels of psychological distress and is more likely to face substance use challenges. Studies from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs indicate that post-9/11 veterans have elevated rates of conditions such as PTSD and depression. National data also shows that approximately 1 in 10 veterans who access VA care are diagnosed with a substance use disorder, with higher risk among younger veterans and those with recent service. Taken together, these realities underscore the need for thoughtful, targeted, and holistic approaches to support for post-9/11 veterans as they navigate both immediate transitions and long-term stability. At the Department of Veteran Services, we are working intentionally to ensure our outreach strategies and services are responsive to these evolving needs. Mental health remains a critical priority. Through our coordination with the New York State Joseph Dwyer program, we support peer-to-peer engagement models that reduce isolation, build community, and encourage health-seeking behaviors. Through our most recent Dwyer program cycle, we supported 31 community-based organizations across the 5 boroughs, reaching as many as 510 participants in a single month. These outcomes reinforce that peer-based models are an effective and culturally competent way to connect veterans to care. At the same time, our work shows that the needs of post-9/11 veterans extend beyond the individual and deeply affect families and children. Supporting the full veteran household must remain a priority. For this generation, service has often been a family experience. Spouses, caregivers, and children have navigated repeated deployments, long separations, and reintegration alongside them. In fact, research from Brown University shows that half of all post 9/11 service members have deployed more than once. In New York City, these families face real pressures, particularly around housing, affordability, childcare, and employment stability. Military spouses often experience care disruption, making access to workforce opportunities, education, and benefits critical to stability of the entire household. We must also continue to support our Gold Star families from the post 9/11 generation, ensuring they have access to mental health support, community, and sustained engagement. Our service data further reinforces these needs. This fiscal year, the majority of the cases coming through our Vet Connect platform have been concentrated in housing assistance, veteran benefits, and claims navigation and economic mobility. We also continue to see consistent demand for legal assistance, food assistance, and education services. Taken together, this underscores that economic stability remains a central challenge for veterans and their families, and that these issues are often deeply interconnected. I also want to emphasize that as a new commissioner, I take seriously how we think about and use data. I know that much of the data we will discuss today precedes my tenure, but moving forward, I am focused on strengthening how data at DVS is captured, analyzed, and reported moving forward. Our team is working to ensure that our metrics reflect both community need and the full scope of the work being done. We are examining the systems we use to make referrals, track outcomes, and measure impact and improving them where necessary. When it comes to understanding what is happening in the community, no stone should be left unturned. Our response must be informed by accurate, credible data. Recently, we achieved the most successful month of veteran housing placement in the agent's history, placing 28 veterans and families into permanent housing. It reflects what possible when the right systems are in place, teams are supported, and how that impact extends beyond individual veterans to strengthen the broader community. We also recognize that engagement requires visibility and trust. Since stepping into this role, I have convened a long overdue roundtables on key issues, including women veterans and post 9/11 veterans, with more to come. Our outreach strategy continues to evolve to meet veterans where they are, on campuses, in workplaces, at community events, and across digital platforms. We are also working to address the ongoing challenge of self-identification by making our services more accessible, relevant, and responsive. We do not want the burden to fall on the veteran to find us. We are committed to finding them. And we are eager to work with fellow commissioners and city agencies to ensure that Local Law 37 is fully implemented so that veterans who come into contact with the city services are connected to our agency for support. I want to be clear, regardless of when a veteran served, every individual who walks through our doors will be treated with the highest level of respect and dignity. We are grateful for the committee's continued partnership and attention to this important work. We look forward to working together to ensure that all veterans, including those that have served in the post 9/11 era, have access to the opportunities and support they deserve. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Commissioner, not only for your testimony, but for your energy. And having attended several of those roundtables you alluded to, I can tell you that your knowledge and experience of the issues that we're talking about is masterful, but I think you also may have a couple of clones because I don't know how you cover the amount of ground you do around the city every single day. So it's a real treat to have you. I want to welcome my colleague and not only a great council member, but the person who has the distinction of representing more veterans than any other council member in the entire city, distinguished council member from Queens, Vicky Palladino. Thank you. Thank you, council member. All right, I will begin and then toss it over to my colleagues. Commissioner, you highlighted outreach, coordination, and participation numbers, which are all encouraging. But when a post 9/11 veteran walks through your doors, what are the specific outcomes we should expect to see improve, whether that's housing stability, employment, or mental health? And how are you measuring success in those areas?
When a veteran contacts the agency, what we are noticing is that we direct them directly to claims because either they're looking for how to navigate this because the different times of claim services that we provide at DVS is disability, pension, education, VA healthcare, housing, employment and vocational services, survival and dependent benefits. So when they walk in, automatically we connect them to claims. But after that, we also connect them with any of the partners that we have at nonprofits. Again, oftentimes when a veteran comes in, people automatically just think, oh, they just want benefits. But no, oftentimes they want a community. They want a community, and they need that support in order for them to integrate fully. What we are seeing and what we are currently working on at DVS is our data reporting. As coming in as a new commissioner, there have been issues when it comes to that, meaning when you do data, you have to understand how, when you do what it means to outreach. What does it mean to actually reach? What does it mean the number of people that attended? What does it mean when an intake is being done, when a referral is being done? And then when you refer them, what's the follow-up? That is what has been currently missing at DVS, and I'm currently working with the housing team and the claims team who at their own capacity has been collecting this data, really do care about this issue, but it also comes down to someone that has that experience. Like myself, I come from the nonprofit sector, so I do know what it means to bring in deliverables, to have that reporting structure, to report to every city agencies, but as well to the community. So I gave an overview of what an individual can see when they come to DVS, but also as DVS, I am taking accountability on that, on what we need to change within the agency, which is data reporting.
You mentioned in your testimony that many services are being accessed through Vet Connect. Do we have a clear sense of how many post 9/11 veterans in New York City are not using Vet Connect, and what the biggest barriers are to reaching them? One of the benefits of their age and being a little younger is one thinks they might be a little bit more tech savvy than their fathers or grandfathers might be.
Well, I could say that in fiscal year 2026, the housing team assisted 1,264 veterans, and our claims team assisted 4,644 veterans. And out of that, 1,200 were post 9/11 veterans. What we are seeing with Vet Connect, and I am all for transparency, is that Vet Connect, it's actually combined arms. That's a software. So I think I'm just going to keep it in those terms, like the software. However, even that software itself, again, coming in as someone that has experience in data, quite frankly, we are also reviewing it and analyzing it, and I really would like to work with you all to see what systems should be better in place when it comes to software, because that particular software doesn't track everything that the DVS does. For example, it doesn't track the events that we go to or the partnerships that we have. And even if we do want to add a partner, it's very tedious for the partners to be added. So for example, if you are a non-designated veteran nonprofit per se, it is difficult to even implement you into the system because it does take time. So what I just want to say is that we are reviewing the systems in place to see if this software is even the one that we need to work with, that needs to work within the agency. Again, maybe there's something that we just need to be improving within the system, right? So I would like to have this continued conversation with you.
Both you and Councilmember Vernikov alluded to an issue that we hear about in just about every hearing, which is the self-identification gap, right? From your perspective, is the issue awareness, is it trust, or is it relevance of services? And what do you think the single most important change meaning we the City Council, can make to get more post 9/11 veterans to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm a veteran?
What you mentioned, all three are correct. I think when it comes to awareness, oftentimes I keep emphasizing this, and because, and I'm just going to give an example as myself, as a woman who's currently serving. Oftentimes when people even look at me, they don't think that I'm the one that's serving. Or when I'm with my husband, right, they think that, oh, they just thank him for his serving. I'm like, wait a minute, we're both the same rank. Like, so that's just an example, right, that when it comes to awareness, but also the diversity within the military, right? We all have different backgrounds. We communicate differently. So that is what, as DVS, we've been trying to portray moving forward. And I think with these roundtables and thank you, Councilmember Morano, for being part of every roundtable, and here in the committee too. We are hoping that as we are seeing this diversity, whether it is like women or different backgrounds, that it just brings us back to one mission, which is supporting the veteran community. But even further to that, what would be helpful is that the partnership and support on ensuring that every agency does implement Local Law 37, which is and just to give a brief description at that, it was 2 years ago this Local Law 37 passed that asked every agency to put in their forms, have you served? That is a way for us to also know and identify what services are veterans receiving and what borough are they going to, what agencies and nonprofits they're going to. However, and again, out of transparency here, that hasn't been implemented. Within my 2 months being here, I have been working very closely with the team on holding meetings with different agencies, and they're really looking forward to working with us. And I'm just going to give an example. For example, MOPID, DSS. And right now, I'm working with DCWP because DCWP is going to be the first one that we are going to be working with to implement Local Law 37. So my goal is that this year, this Local Law 37 is fully implemented.
I have two more questions for this round, and then I'll invite my colleagues to have at it, and then I have a few more for you. But you cited higher rates of PTSD, and I alluded to it earlier, depression and substance abuse among post 9/11 veterans. Are we currently meeting that level of need in New York City, or are we still playing catch up? And where specifically are the gaps?
Well, as an agency, when a veteran does come in, or we are aware of a veteran having any sort of mental crisis or need, we do the intake, but then we refer them to the VA, or we refer them to the 988 crisis hotline. But as well, oftentimes they just are in need of a community, and that's where the Dwyer program does come in. Again, we partner up with 31 organizations, but from that end, what we are seeing that is lacking is that we do have to do better to showcase that there's more than just 31 organizations that do support veterans per se, right? That there's other organizations out there that are doing great work too, that really do want to support veterans. And I think, council member, as you mentioned, that that there's many council members too that want to support veterans, they just don't know how. And I think the simple fact of us amplifying that outreach for us, that's why not only are we convening veteran designated groups or nonprofits, but we're also convening non-designated veteran organizations, because what we want to do after all of these meetings that we've been having, I just want to say that I've had close to 100 meetings already. Our goal is to go to different boroughs and begin gathering all of these other nonprofits that want to also support. So that when I think so I say all of this to answer your question, that there has to be better outreach when it comes to that, and culturally competency as well when we are working with non-designated veteran groups.
You alluded to your very unique perspective, not only being someone that serves actively in the military, but you're also a military spouse. And it was also heartening to hear that you and your husband are the same rank. It's inspiring that one day I will not have to take all of my wife's orders, and maybe we'll be on a level playing field in some respect. But you made an important point about that service is often a family experience. How are we measuring whether spouses and children are actually benefiting from DVS programs and not just the veteran themselves?
Well, we as DVS, we hosted the first woman veteran roundtable, and that in itself was, at the same time, I want to say, it was very heartbreaking on how women have been often left out of the conversation. Many of them did mention that they were also mothers, but as DVS, what we are doing is not just meeting with various other groups. For example, Blue Star Families. I know, Councilmember Morano, you came to the launching of the food pantry that we did with Blue Star Families, and this is a group of women who whose husbands serve in the military, and they are just looking for that support of, can someone support us just so we can continue supporting one another? And oftentimes it's just that simple fact, like just listening to them, supporting them. But even further, what's happening is like with Gold Star Families, we are looking forward to convening with Councilmember Palladino to welcome a roundtable with Gold Star Families, which is something that hasn't also been done, and we want to hear directly from them, because, as a matter of fact, today my team members Noah and Dane are going to to La Guardia for a soldier that's coming back home to ensure that he has a designated, a dignified, transferred. Unfortunately, the soldier passed away, and as DVS, what we are doing differently now is that not only are we convening the Gold Star families, but every soldier that comes back to New York City, we want to make sure that we are there present if they are coming back and they need that dignified transfer because they passed away. So we want to make sure that not only are we there to unfortunately welcome the soldier in those circumstances, but be there for the families. And we hope that with the Gold Star Roundtable, Councilmember Palladino, that they could guide us more on how we could do better to have that dignified transfer. Because just to let you know, when I went there the first time, because that's going to be one of our missions being there, it was very sad to see that it was just the family that was there present, and there was no more support, and that really, and honestly, it pissed me off because we should be doing more because these soldiers gave their life for this country.
All right. Speaking of Councilmember Palladino, Councilmember, floor is yours.
First off, I want to just say thank you. You know, the work you're doing right now, you're bringing us all into the 21st century, which is super, super important. And we have paid a lot of attention to our Vietnam vets, and they are aging out. And now we need to pay attention to the post 9/11 veterans. And that's exactly what you're doing. My interest, of course, is about, and you did speak to this, which I'm really happy about, about getting them together as families. We're looking for non-for-profits that can work together with you. A couple in my area do come to mind because they are extremely active, but nobody touches veterans. We have something called Common Point in my district, and they cater to, seniors and families and just, for lack of a better word, regular folk. Okay. We need to find that. We also have the Korean Community Center, which is the largest Korean center in the entire city of New York, in Bayside. Both of these places are located in Bayside. And I think at this point in time, I think we should start to perhaps examine what they may, because they are family oriented in so many ways, dealing with seniors and regular people in their 50s. But I think we should open up a whole dialogue to the fact that we can help and work together with you and bring them in, and perhaps the way they create, again, a lack for a better word, a pre-K organization, or for after-school programs for children. Why not start a new division in these non-for-profits, which can actually cater to veterans and their families? So I wanted to run that idea by you today. Again, to Frank's point about doing these roundtables and asking people about what we're going to do to help the families. Because in your case, you, yourself, children, they all need help. So let's just bring them all in, but in a fun sort of a way.
Yes.
Because not everybody is off, for lack of a better word. Again, they're functioning in our society, and I just think better care needs to be taken care of those families. So I'm going to look into the. I don't really have a question. I guess I'm just giving you a statement. I apologize for that, but I just want to make you aware. So we're going to work together, and we're going to figure something out, because there are so many non-for-profits that the city funds non-for-profits. We, as council members, fund non-for-profits. So for those that I do fund heavily, I'd like to know what we could do to open up a door to our veterans and our veteran families, our younger veterans. Very important.
Thank you for that comment, Councilwoman, because as we are convening the Gold Star families, they are the ones that are going to guide us in this process of how do we do a better work around the dignified transfers. But that's another topic. For example, we're going to be hosting a disability roundtable soon. But we do want to convene military spouses, children, especially this month was a military children month, right? And the fact that we didn't do as much to even highlight the service of these children, right?
Right.
It's we do need to do better on that aspect, but we are going to be convening a roundtable on that too.
The fact that the kids need to know
Mm-hmm.
that their mom and dads are heroes.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's another thing. It shouldn't be a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
This should be proudly worn as a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And in attending police officers' medal ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids come running up to me and we take pictures and all of that. And I bent down and I said, do you realize that your dad or your mom, whomever it was, is a real hero? And they looked at me and as if to say, what do you mean hero? Well, they are a hero.
Mm-hmm.
They're out on the front lines every day. I think the same thing needs to be brought into a broader scope, that these kids actually understand that their moms and dads are true heroes. And I think we're going to work on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Commissioner, before I turn to my other colleagues, you may have mentioned it, I may have missed it. If that's the case, I apologize. But I'm wondering if you could speak to the legislation that we're considering today, Intro 0488, Councilmember Vernikov's proposal. Have you had a chance to look at it? And if you have, what's your opinion?
Yes, well, I'm going to pass it off to Nicole. But before that, I do want to say that we are looking forward to working with the councilwoman and also HPD to make sure that this legislation is supported, because we do want to ensure that we do review it and provide that support that is needed. And Nicole can elaborate a little bit further on this, but also other things that can happen to make this even stronger to support the councilwoman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair. So for this bill for Intro 488, we are in support of it, but we do, as Commissioner mentioned, we look forward to working with Council and with HPD. There are some tweaks that we have as we were looking through it in regards to what documentation is required, some eligibility, and some clarification on definitions between veterans and spouses. Overall, we are in support, but we do look forward to just working on some of those items.
Thank you. I think in my 11 months as a council member, that's the first time when I've asked any administration that question, they don't begin the answer by saying, well, we support the idea of this and we support the bill, what the bill's trying to do, but we don't support it. So thank you for the clarity and for the guidepost, which we'll look forward to following. At this point, I'll turn things over to Councilmember Wong.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I heard from your testimony and also from the previous commissioner, James Hendon, that is a big problem that veterans don't want to identify themselves as veterans. Can you talk about that? Is that more apparent on post 9/11 veterans, or what can we do to help? I'm drawing parallels to like groups, therapy groups of people identifying themselves as like alcoholics or drug addicts. Please talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so with that, what we I know, and oftentimes in hearings, it was why aren't they self-identifying, right? And what I do like about this committee is that it's more so, well, what are we doing to make it easier for them, right? And that is what earlier what I did mention about local law 37. The goal is that there's so many agencies, right? City agencies. So imagine if every city agency did comply with ensuring that local law 37 was fully implemented, then we will actually have the opportunity to give access easier to veterans to self-identify. And this is why I'm really looking forward to finalizing the work with DCWP, because they're going to be the first agency that we're partnering up with. And again, it took 2 years in order for this particular legislation to be implemented. And within my leadership, within 2 months, we're already working on ensuring that this is implemented, along with the support of my team that made sure that we gather with various commissioners. Again, the next one will be working with MOPID and DSS. They've been fully supportive of this. So there's going to require these conversations. So with your support, if we can continue meeting with the commissioners and letting them know that this is very much needed, then it will support, because it would also not just help that self-identification, but it could also help many of the veteran groups that are on the ground, because I could tell you that what I'm noticing is that many of them are many of them are in need of funding, and perhaps maybe what can happen is that I'm just going to give an example. Like maybe one agency realizes that, oh, within this agency we're supporting so many veterans, we then should prioritize veterans in our community, or maybe it should be veteran designated, this contract. So my goal is to be able to push for those veteran nonprofits so they could be able to get funding.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My follow up: post 9/11 veterans have the same problem, or it's worse?
So when it comes to post 9/11 veterans, what we are seeing is, oh, you mean numbers or
Identifying themselves
Identifying.
as veterans.
Oh, okay. I was going to talk about their needs, but we're noticing that it's across. It doesn't matter what generation they were part of. That what we're noticing is across. We are also just at times realizing that a veteran is self-identifying. They're so much older than the post 9/11 veterans, right? So, what is happening is that. If we continue bringing awareness to this, even with the Vietnam veterans, many of them are dying right at a higher rate, and we need to do better to highlight them. To highlight their efforts, like reminding them of why it is important to self-identify. Because if they don't self-identify, then that's an arrow. And what I'm noticing too, and someone that believes in history a lot, is that if we're not highlighting them, then that's a story that's going to fade away. And what happens a lot when it comes to organizing and someone that's part of different movements is that if we can't organize in the present if we don't learn from the past. And I think when Vietnam veterans, when I spoke with many of them, they said, I wish there was a DVS when I first came. I wish there was much support as there is on the ground with other veteran groups, or that we were as organized when I first came. And I think reminding ourselves of that yes, we like when it comes to supporting the veteran community, there's still more work to be done, but there has been so many steps that have been taken. And again, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, this will be even better. So our goal is to go through history and storytelling and make sure that we remember each era.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before I turn to Councilmember De La Rosa, I had an opportunity over the last couple of days to start reviewing the Veteran Advisory Board report. Have you had a chance to look at that report? Do you have any initial reaction to it? And do you have any idea when the report may be made public so that some of the folks in this room can have a look at it too?
I will have Nicole from my team elaborate at that. I know she has been working heavily even before my time here at DVS with the VAB, and is in close communication with them.
Thank you, Chair. As Commissioner mentioned, we've been working very closely with our partners and board members for the Veterans Advisory Board. We appreciate all their hard work that had went into putting this report together and the collaboration they provided along with us. This report will be public on our website. I believe it's actually been posted last night, so it will be up there now. We're really excited to share that there's a lot of new board members this time around that are having a lot of input and being able to participate with us. Our initial thoughts of this report is that we're very aligned in the sense that we're working closely with the board on some of the issues that were raised. Some of these issues we are seeing as an overlap in the post 9/11 veteran community, as well as the veteran community in general, with access to housing, affordability, as well as data transparency that Commissioner has mentioned. So we're really looking forward to our next Veteran Advisory Board meeting, which is next week, and working closely with the board.
All right. I want to, at this point, acknowledge Councilmember Jim Gennaro, who is joining us via Zoom, and also want to invite Councilmember De La Rosa to offer any questions.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner and team, for being here. I had two questions. The first one is around the VA hospitals. I'm familiar with the one in the Bronx that is closest to me. And I know that this obviously are federally run, but what is the communication or collaboration, thank you, between your office at the VA hospital in terms of wraparound services and coordination of services?
So when I'm going to be passing this question soon to Danae, but as DVS, we do work very closely with all the VA hospitals and clinics, because oftentimes they are the ones that do provide that direct service that is needed, especially in their own borough. So again, when people come to DVS or they call DVS, it automatically what we're noticing is that they're looking for claims and benefits navigation, and that's when we are able to not only send them over to nonprofits, but as well to the VA. And again, we work very closely with them, and I will let Danae go further in elaborating on that.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Donna. Is post 9/11 veteran, as well as Executive Director of Housing and Supportive Services. I work closely with the Harbor Bronx VA to give wraparound services to the veterans. A lot of them call. We collaborate a lot with HUVASH and housing. But we also refer for like mental health or any healthcare services they need. Women care, both Harbor and the Bronx are very big on women health. And so we direct them, to them as far as healthcare. And their services there, because I go to the one that's in your district, the Bronx, is amazing.
And is there any coordination in terms? I know they can't obviously HIPAA laws and all of that, but is there any coordination around sharing of like data? Maybe like if there's like a percentage of women veterans that need special assistance, like is there any coordination of?
We
information?
share data to a certain degree. Because of HIPAA, we can't, but we have an MOU between us where we can share certain information and data between the two agencies. So yes.
Great. And then my final question, Commissioner, something I know you and I care deeply about is immigrants and immigrant service members. So I'm wondering what are some of the services that are available?
Thank you for that question. And just to give a bit on that, oftentimes green card veterans or green card soldiers are left out of the conversation, or children of immigrants that served. And as someone whose husband was a green card soldier and did take time for him to obtain his citizenship, but he still served this country because he loves this country. And I take this very personal. So I am working very closely with Assemblymember Catalina Cruz, who has a bill that is on behalf of a soldier who passed away in combat. And while he passed away, his wife was in deportation proceedings. That's a reality, and it's even happening right now, too. Prior to being here, I did support, and that was a lot of my work. I was supporting soldiers whose parents were in detention center. And I needed to help them navigate not just the legal system, but also what was happening within the unit they belonged to. So I needed to wear both of my hats, the military and advocacy one. But I say this because I am working closely with Assemblymember Catalina Cruz and ONA, the Office of New Americans, because there's a particular support there to provide service members with legal services. However, me coming in here within my 2 months of being here, there's still a lot of work to be done around that because this is a very niche, I would like to say, like you have to have a lot of experience around this. So so I'm coming in to provide like my expertise on this to be able to further provide it here in New York City, but also begin speaking with other groups that I have been talking to because there's many groups here that also have been supporting green card soldiers or veterans.
Great. I would love to partner more with you and Catalina and the rest of the state colleagues on supporting those initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Commissioner, we have a couple more questions from some of my other colleagues. Two brief ones from me. I alluded to the lack of veteran representation in the New York City Council currently. And if you look at the VAB report, it talks about how post 9/11 veterans are less likely to be tied into legacy veteran networks and are often balancing careers and young families. What targeted recruitment strategies beyond just social media blasts will DVS implement to identify and directly engage this cohort for community boards and civic participation? For example, will you partner with employers, campuses, or transition programs to proactively recruit rather than relying on self-selection?
Yes, I'm going to pass this to Nicole, but I am glad that you asked that question because, as I said, this is a very unique population, the post 9/11 veterans. We are at a point where this is one of the most diverse generations, one of the most educated generations too. So the simple fact of us at the moment of having these conversations is very important. I know that, for example, Council. Member, when you came to the roundtable, I know we were only able to touch up on mental health, and we didn't even finish on the whole mental health situation. But there's there's different issues that need to be approached differently. But I know as DVS, I'm still continue having these conversations. I'm still not done having the roundtables on the post 9/11 veterans, which all of you will also be invited. But I'll pass on this question to Nicole.
Thank you, Chair. For us, it's also important to notice that we know our veterans are in the community. So if they're not identifying to us, we know that they're in each city council district. And I think we had this conversation previously too, where we do hold this data for which veterans are in each council district. So we encourage all council members to connect with us to get that data of which veterans are in their district so that more of that direct community building and outreach can be done. I think additionally with us in that spirit of partnership is that we're really excited to partner with different organizations, as Councilmember Palladino said, that may not be veteran oriented, but can help support veterans, especially when we're thinking about in super local areas and on that level. I know that in the Veterans Advisory Report, and there has been discourse around our part in promoting veteran candidates and things of that nature. And while that's something that we are not exploring, what we do are in support of is veterans increasing their civic engagement and really being able to be involved on that local level.
Thank you. Commissioner, I don't have any interest in using this forum to push any partisan political agenda or anything like that. So I'm not trying to insert you in any sort of political controversy. But I do have to ask you about this, not only because you're the commissioner, but because you're a post 9/11 veteran yourself. Mayor Adams last year announced that this coming July there would be a ticker tape parade. He called it the Homecoming of Heroes to honor post 9/11 combat veterans and their families. It was announced last week that Mayor Mamdani is not going to go forward with that. I'm wondering if you could speak at all to what your understanding was of the circumstances behind that decision and what the administration may be considering in terms of honoring the post 9/11 veterans.
Yes, thank you for that question, Council Member. So as DVS, we have been having various meetings. As I mentioned, I've had close to 100 meetings, and we are listening directly from the veterans themselves. There have been various conversations of different things that have been said, whether it has been a RUC, whether it's been a resource fair. So what we then did was then convene a meeting most recently as well about with the post 9/11 veterans. And when it comes to that, we are still in organizing the next steps of the RUC and the resource fair, because unlike the previous administration, we want to make sure that the voices of veterans are included, and they're the ones that help us shape this and are part of the coordination. So there's still a lot more conversations to come on that, on how we're going to do the RUC and the resource fair. But just to give an example about the RUC is a universal per se language where it doesn't matter what branch you served. The RUC is very universal for us. That it's when we put about whether it is 30 to 50 pounds in our rucksack, and would like to maybe keep it simple, but like in March, and it's a way for us to pay tribute to whomever it was that we're honoring at that moment. So as that that requires that is very tedious. It's not easy to do. But when it comes to the resource fair, this is the first time that we're going to be convening so many veteran groups, nonprofits, all in one space, because we want to make sure that veterans know that we're here for you. It's not just like a parade, but it's what we want you to know is that we're doing it by action, that we are here to provide those services, and we do hope that through that we send that message that we are leading by an example and by action. And again, this is going to require more conversations to have. Like, I know with the post 9/11 convening that we had a conversation around that, and veterans are letting us know like that you should change this or you should add this, but with that we are working very closely. I believe at, with the Travis Foundation too, to be able to. They've done this rug so many times. They've done the Brooklyn Bridge, and we're going to be working with them to get guidance from them on how to do this rug. So, like, to your point, we've been convening with veteran groups, and they are guiding us in this process, and they're going to be part of every conversation. And we also invite your offices too to be part of this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being included and look forward to being part of the conversation. And it's fine if you don't, but do you have an understanding of why that decision was made to go in a different direction? Is it a question of resources? Is it a question of police logistics? Is it something else?
So when it comes to that, what has been as I started convening various veteran groups, there has been a lot of conversations that many veteran groups were not included in this process. And that is what I do differently. I like to include veterans. I like to hear from them. I like them to be the ones leading this. And also when it does come to funding per se, right? It's something that as an agency I'm really looking into as an agency to see like if this is something that can continue every year, because when you plan something, it's not just that it's just for this year, it's a planification process. So I do hope that with the support and the guidance, I would like to say, of veterans themselves, that perhaps next year is going to be something else, right? But we need to start from the bottom up, which is like right now we're gathering with veteran groups. They're letting us know what works, what doesn't work, what they like, what they don't like. And it's not always easy conversations, but that's what part of organizing is. Like you have to have hard conversations and to make sure that everybody feels part of this. And also, not only will we be honoring those post 9/11 veterans, but we are also going to take the opportunity to have Vietnam veterans there present, because again, we can't learn from our present or look forward to the future. We don't know about our past.
Councilmember Palladino.
I'm switching topics on you. I want to delve into our VA hospitals. And, we know the city budget is $5 million for the veterans. We know that our VA hospitals are absolutely disgusting, quite frankly. I would like to know, and I would like to ask, how about we start to do some surprise checks? St. Albans in my borough comes into mind because we happen to know several veterans who had to go to St. Albans. And I'd like to know if we could start to be proactive. Out of that $5 million, now we also have a committee that is hospitals, called hospitals. How much of their budget actually goes towards our VA hospitals? They're a mess. The food, I'm reading right out of one of my vets. The food is gross. The veterans are neglected. No answers for families. Have to be pre-approved we as electeds have to be pre-approved to visit. I cannot walk into a veterans hospital, which is total BS. Absolute BS that I cannot walk in as a sitting elected who happens to serve on the Veterans Committee and ask to meet with the way I do at my homeless shelters. I'm very much in touch. So the idea that I'm cut off from that is something that tells me, what are you hiding? Because if I can't walk in and say, hello, how are you? Without being asked to leave immediately upon my arrival, I find that not only disrespectful, but totally lacking in any kind of confidence, like they're hiding something. Also, these veterans should have access to EBT cards the way the illegal immigrants in this country have. So I have a problem with that as well. Again, this is coming directly from a veteran. And again, it's gross about how they are treated. Elected officials should be able to walk in at any given times to do random checks. So $5 million. Hospitals are a shambles. Elected officials cannot just randomly drop in and say hello. And EBT cards. So let's keep those three on the front burner. That I'm sorry to shift from such a nice topic that you were having prior, but I just got this from him, and I really wanted this addressed because again, like I said, the budget for the veterans is disgraceful. I've been sitting on this committee. This will be 5 years. $5 million hasn't been increased, not by 1 cent. We have committees here that are, it's a hospitals committee. What else? What's the committee called? Hospitals and general, you would know. Just hospitals, flat out hospitals. So how much out of the hospitals committee actually goes to our veterans hospitals? And I want to be allowed in anytime I want to go. And I think they should be able to be entitled to EBT cards. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for that question because even though the VA is handled at a federal level, I know that we do have good relationships with the VA, and that is something unique that we're doing now under my leadership is that I'm trying to build at least open up that line of communication, and I know that part of the organizing per se that we would like to do is begin having meetings with the VA directly, and this is where we would like to invite you and so to begin having these conversations.
And on a personal note, my father died in 1961. He died in a VA hospital because my mother could not afford any other hospitalization for my dad. So he died, like I said, up in the Bronx in a VA hospital. So that was many, 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 many years ago. But it's as current today as it was in 1961. This just came to me as I lost my dad in a VA hospital.
I'm so sorry for that, Councilwoman, and with that, that's why we want to make sure that we have good relationships, and I can have a follow up conversation with you on that, on how we are trying to also team up with the VA hospital. And there's a whole other conversation that we're having with them, but we would like to bring you in that conversation and also further emphasize that what we can do collectively is make sure that the veterans know the alternative that they have if they're not supported at the
City
VA.
Hall has a hospitals committee. We, council, have a hospitals committee. I think you should start there. And
Yes.
let's find out in their line item for the new budget, $127 billion. That's a lot of money. Let's find out how much of that $127 billion that's being allotted to the hospitals committee is actually going to go towards the heroes of this country. I'm dead serious about that. Dead serious about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And the next to finalize is we are trying to build that strong relationship with the commissioner from DOHMH. Because we would like to have these conversations with them on how can alternatively they can support veterans if the VA is not doing that. So that's another meeting that we're going to have with a second meeting that we're going to have with the commissioner from DOHMH.
Thank you, Council Member, for your family service as well. Commissioner, you've given us a lot to think about in your testimony, and I think one of the things that was most readily apparent is that we should be listening to the voices of veterans, which we'll do in a moment. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
I just want to reassure you that as the new commissioner coming in within my 2 months, I am looking very deep into all the data. We are currently even submitting particular report on disability that had not been submitted for the last 3 years, just so you know. And within my 2 months, we're submitting it, and we're convening a roundtable with disability advocates so they could also look at this report and tell us what is wrong or what do we need to change, and also to hold me as an agency accountable. Like, well, how is it that they're going to be holding me accountable? I'm all about accountability. So I just want you to know that what we are doing within my agency, like within my 2 months, again, we are submitting. I'm even looking through what reports haven't been submitted. I just want to be transparent about that. So I am making sure that we are up to date. I am also making sure that with local law 37 that's fully implemented, and also because I want to make sure that the veteran groups here have the most accurate data so they can advocate for their nonprofit, and that they're fully supported when it comes to local law 37 when they're asking for contracts. And I always tell my team that we need to be respectful to all the veterans that are here, so we stay and listen to each one of them. So I want them to know that we're also listening and being fully supportive of them.
When I talked about the hospitals committee, one way you may be able to finagle yourself around a little bit is look at all our different committees that we have. And why not delve into there's how many committees in the city council? How many that could actually assist the veterans? Something you should look into, because funding does not necessarily have to just be the one allotted amount of $5 million. There's other pots that you should be able to dip into in order to get your money.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Right?
If you look at every
Think about
committee, which one doesn't have something to do with veterans? You
Or
know,
what
general
can we make
welfare,
have
finance,
Fine,
even
well,
criminal
that's
justice.
exactly right.
Absolutely.
There's so many ways.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We are now going to open the hearing for public testimony. I want to remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you'll have 3 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic, serving post 9/11 veterans. We'll hear all in-person testimony first and then turn to testimony on Zoom. The members of this committee may ask you a question or two, but if we don't, that doesn't mean we're not interested. Trust me when I tell you we're paying very, very close attention to what everybody's saying. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. All right, I will now call the first panel. When you hear your name, come on up. I will welcome Joseph Ween, Jenny Bukovi, Christina Brown Fisher, and Coco Culhane. Come on down. And if I do mispronounce anyone's name, please correct me. All right. Thank you. Begin with Mr. Ween, who, in addition to being a Marine veteran, is also somebody that I've had the privilege of knowing personally, and who gifted me this embassy panel from the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq, when he was serving there, and it's my privilege to wear it. So thank you, Mr. Ween.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be back in this room. As you'll hear in my statement, I worked in the council many years ago before I was called back to work. All right, by work, I mean government work, which this is government work. But good morning, Frank, Chairman, and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm proud to say that I'm a native New Yorker, right? Born and raised here. I am equally proud to be a third-generation Marine, combat veteran Marine, and I also like to say that I come from a family of immigrants from Cuba and Italy. Both sides of my family have served in the military since 1914, and that tradition continues today. My nephew is a pilot in the Navy, but I cannot disclose where he is or what type of plane he flies, but I assure you he is in harm's way. All right, I joined the Marine Corps immediately after high school, and I served for 4 years on active duty. During that time, I was deployed to the first Gulf War, where I was a scout with the now 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. I later deployed with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, a special operations capable force. which supported Operation Provide Promise in the former Republic of Yugoslavia. And I trained with our partner nations across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. After returning to New York City, I worked for Council Member Jay O'Donovan, which I don't know if anybody up here remembers him, but he was the first Vietnam vet elected to the council. I later ran for city council myself in the 50th district, and as fate would have it, my primary day was September 11th, 2001. All right, after obviously that kind of threw a wrench into my campaign. I did not win, but I went on to work down at Ground Zero for about a year. After assisting down at Ground Zero, I returned to service with the U.S. Department of State's High Protection Office, High Threat Protection Office. I was assigned to the Baghdad office, protecting diplomatic personnel during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I served there in Iraq from 2005 to 2008. Continuous service, coming home occasionally for leave. I later was tasked to work with the USAID and the State Department Security Service again in Afghanistan, where I was there in 2009 and 2010. Upon returning to the United States, I supported domestic emergency responses and continued security and leadership roles. My current role is security sensitive, so I will not give you any specific details of what I do now or who I work for. However, I want to emphasize that the opinions, experience, and perspectives that I share to you today are my own shaped, and mine alone are shaped over 55 years of life and service. I share this background to make the point clear. Veterans have earned access to the care and support they were promised. The transition from military to civilian life is not an easy one, more difficult for others than some. All right, and access to the Department of Veterans Affairs and Services is a critical part of that transition. Ensuring timely, consistent, and equitable access to the VA services is not just a policy issue, it's a matter of responsibilities. And knowing that we have the full trust and support of our representatives is essential to helping make that transitions. Veterans should not have to struggle to receive the care they need after a lifetime of service. And I say lifetime because if you were in Iraq for 2 years or Vietnam for a year, it's a lifetime of service. Thank you.
Joe, I have two quick questions for you before we go to the other panelists. I appreciate your testimony today, and you have such a unique perspective, having served alongside both pre-9/11 and post-9/11 veterans. From your perspective, what's the biggest difference in the challenges they face when they come home?
So definitely some of the same things. I'd say post-Gulf War, the Gulf War veterans got little credit for doing anything because the media portrayed it as this bloodless, easygoing, we dropped a few laser bombs and everybody surrendered. And I could tell you that was not the case. Maybe some units, as in any combat deployment or any deployment, and individuals. Some people maybe didn't do anything. Some people were in Riyadh the whole time driving a bus, which I literally know a guy who did that. Important job. I say there's all jobs are important. I was in a reconnaissance unit that was up along the Kuwaiti border months so far north we were out of the artillery fan, meaning we had no support. So when we did get attacked and we were counter with another Iraqi counter reconnaissance unit, you know, it was tough. So you come home and we didn't get any credit at all. I mean, there were even sometimes at the VA hospital where we were kind of rejected a little bit. Post 9/11, there was an initial response of open arms, right? But then as the war dragged on, and as all wars that last a long time become political, right? It's, oh yeah, you guys did a great job, but you know, look who you're fighting for. I mean, and I'm explaining it wrong, but so I say some of the struggles are being accepted as a veteran, right? And having other people say, hey, look, man, this is hard and there's a lot of sacrifice. And I think that one of the things that people don't understand about the last 20 plus years, only 1% of the population served, right? So I have friends of mine that just wrapped up their 25-year career. And I have a friend of mine, I was in the Marines with him. He then worked with us in the State Department and other agencies, went into Army Special Forces, spent 21 years there and was deployed 16 of 21 years. And he comes home and really nobody wants to deal with you. And once again, like I said, it's open arms from some folks, complete rejection from other folks, and the struggle at the VA. And I want to make it clear, a lot of people that work that I've dealt with at the VA centers or hospital themselves, they greet you well and they try to help you out. It's when it elevates to that is the problem. I've literally been told, well, you were in the first Gulf War, Joe. That wasn't a real war. I mean, I was literally told that one time. And then another time I was told, well, you make enough money and you work. What do you need benefits for? I said, I'm not even necessarily want benefits. I want my treatment. I was hurt in the Marines and I want the military to continue my treatment, which I have circumstances now that I'm trying to get fixed. And you're rejected from it. So I don't know if it's the same, if that answered the question or not, but it's kind of, there's a lot of, this stuff is not yes and no.
Let me end with this. Given your experience in both government and the private sector, what's one practical thing New York City could do right now that you think would make a real difference to post 9/11 veterans?
So I think we can take a lesson. I love New York. I may live across the river now, right? But I will say New York, and I've argued with people literally around the world with this, it's the greatest place in the world, right? But when you go to other states like Florida, or I lived in Texas for a while for work, they let you know everything that's available to you, and they proactively try to help you out. For Texas example, if you're a Texas resident, not like I went there to work and I'm a veteran and I moved there. If you're a Texas citizen, as they say, right, a state, and you go there, and I don't remember if you were a combat veteran, I think it was, any state school is free, 100%. This is outside of your VA stuff, right? So if I want to go to A&M, right, it's free. If I want to go, I think Louisiana has a similar thing. If I want to go to LSU, they pay most of the bill. They pick it up. I went, I served, I deployed. It's on them. And this is outside of your GI Bill. So I think New York needs to, as you said before, we need to reallocate some funds. Everybody wants their stuff funded. But when 99% of the population of the United States is leaning on the 1%, and they've been leaning on the 1% for over 20 years. In fact, after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the enlistment rate dropped to 0.5%. And I know a lot of people don't want to acknowledge this right now. And like I said, you like the president, you don't like the president. You like the mayor, you like the city council, you don't. It doesn't matter. These people, veterans, Vietnam veterans, everyone forgets a lot of Vietnam veterans volunteered to go. They made the call, right? And think about that. 99% of the population does not serve, or has no intention of serving, doesn't go in the military. 1% serves. So I would say we could take an example from places like Florida and Texas and proactively say, hey, if you served or you're a combat veteran or whatever the case is, CUNY's free. It used to be that way. So if we can find money for all these other special things, you can find money for the 1% of the people who make a lifetime commitment, because it doesn't end. And any veteran in here will tell you, it doesn't end, right? You deployed once, you're in the military for 2 years, it is with you the rest of your life.
Thank you, Joe, for your service and for your testimony. And I'll just state for the record that everybody knows there's no one that dislikes the city council. Let's be very clear.
I adore the city council. I tried to get back into it, but it is what it is.
I want to welcome Jenny Bukov, who is with Gallup NYC and comes from Howard Beach.
Good morning, council members and chair. I'm Jenny Bukov. I'm the executive director of Gallup NYC, and we're New York City's largest therapeutic equine-based nonprofit, and we're based in Queens. At its core, Gallup NYC exists to provide accessible therapeutic experiences with horses for all New Yorkers. And we have people come to us from all 5 boroughs. This includes people with physical, cognitive, and emotional challenges. And for many of our riders, this is the first time they've been near a horse, let alone ridden one. And it's often the only way that they would be able to have that access through us. Each week, we serve over 400 New Yorkers, including approximately 40 veterans and their family members, I'm proud to say, through riding and unmounted programs. And we're also joined by 100 volunteers each week who support this work. Everyone that comes to us receives a subsidy. Nobody is turned away because of cost. Our veterans programs provide hand-on horse care and riding instructions and opportunities to build connection and community in a setting that feels comfortable and non-clinical and fun, frankly. We partnered directly with the VA New York Harbor Healthcare Systems, serving veterans from both the St. Albans and Brooklyn campuses each month, and we're expanding our work through the Veterans Family Program that was initially funded through Dwyer. Thank you for that. Which brings veterans and their children together in a fun program which strengthens the ties in the families, rebuilds connections, but also provides a community of people and families that have gone through similar experiences. And we're currently working with the group at Columbia University that developed the Man of War protocol for PTSD treatment, and we're pulling their best practices into our curriculum as well. As one participant shared, as a veteran with no prior horse experience, Gallup NYC restored a sense of camaraderie that was missing from civilian life. The relationships with the horses and instructors have been a powerful source of healing for my anxiety, depression, and trauma-related challenges. And we're requesting your support in several areas. $150,000 in DVS funding to sustain and expand our veterans programs, which we are provided free to all participants. Demand continues to grow, particularly as we work more closely with the VA partnerships. Secondly, we are asking for capital funding for an indoor arena, including $250,000 from the council as part of a broader public funding request. Our programs are canceled when it's snowing, it's raining, or too hot, which is really difficult for our families. It interrupts our services. And by building this indoor arena, it will allow us to build an indoor arena that will ensure consistency. Gallup NYC is a cost-effective, high-impact model that improves mental health, strengthens family, and expands access to care outside of traditional clinical settings. Thank you very much for your support and for the opportunity to testify.
And is there a location for that indoor arena as of yet?
Yes, there is. It's at Sunrise at our facility in Queens.
And obviously, Gallup NYC seems like it's doing really unique work with veterans. From what you've seen so far, what specific outcomes, if any, are you seeing for post 9/11 veterans, and how can the city help scale that impact?
What we find at Gallup is that our working with us helps people that traditional therapies don't often help, sometimes can't reach. So an obvious one for veterans is PTSD. And so when you come and talk to some of our veterans, they'll tell you that they were and we see it, and it's one of the reasons that we've been so successful with the VA, because they see the results, that some people come to us and they're very closed off, and working with us and working with our horses in particular really opens them up in a way that other therapies don't. That's just one example.
And also with Gallup NYC, we're lucky enough to be joined by Christina Brown Fisher. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, City Council members. My name is Christina Brown Fisher. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today on behalf of Gallup NYC and the veterans it serves. When you walk into the Manhattan campus of the Department of Veteran Affairs New York Harbor Healthcare System on 23rd Street and First Avenue, there's a quote on the wall from George Washington that says, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation." I am one of those veterans. I served 4 years on active duty in the Air Force. I was an information specialist, and I made a successful transition to television news. I am an Emmy Award-winning journalist, a former anchor and correspondent for MSNBC and NBC News. My work has appeared in the New York Times, HuffPost, and other publications. But my journey with horses did not begin as recreation. It began during neurorehabilitation at a VA medical center in Virginia. Riding was introduced as part of my recovery, and what started as therapy became something much more. It became a path back to myself. When I first began riding, I needed both a side walker and a lead walker, just to stay balanced, just to stay safe. I proudly ride independently now. That's because of Gallup NYC. That progress didn't just happen physically, it rebuilt confidence, independence, and a sense of self that had been shaken. My son began riding at Gallup NYC in 2021. It's become something we share, something that strengthens our connection in a way that's hard to replicate elsewhere. And while I have gained independence, my 8-year-old, who requires significant support, always finds it at Gallup. Sometimes that support looks like riding, but other times it's groundwork. It's learning how to tack, how to groom, and how to feed the horses. Those moments matter just as much. They are lessons being learned both in and out of the saddle, lessons such as patience, responsibility, trust, and confidence that simply cannot be replicated in any traditional setting. There is something uniquely powerful about being around these animals. They demand presence. They respond to calm and consistency. And for veterans, especially those dealing with trauma, injury, or the invisible wounds of service, that environment creates a kind of peace that is very hard to find elsewhere, particularly in New York City. On horseback, the noise quiets, the stress eases, and over time, something important returns: confidence, pride, and a renewed sense of capability. Programs like Gallup NYC provide something that traditional clinical settings often simply cannot. They offer healing without stigma. They create space not just for individual growth, but for family connection as well. I'm here today to ask you to recognize the value of that work and to support it, not as a luxury, but as a meaningful and effective complement to the care veterans need and deserve. If we want future generations to step forward and to serve, we have to show now, clearly and consistently, that we take care of those who already have. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to veterans.
Thank you for your service to the Air Force. Thank you for your testimony today. You've said programs like therapeutic riding work in part because I think the phrase you used, and you put it brilliantly, they offered healing without stigma, right? How can the city better integrate and support these kinds of complementary therapies so more veterans feel comfortable taking that first step towards getting help? I think it kind of goes to what Mr. Ween was saying about outreach from the city's part, from DVS's part. And obviously, there's a lot of other potential services that the city could fund. As Councilmember Palladino alluded to, veterans get a very, very small slice of the $120 billion budget pie, $127 billion. What do you think the city can do to help veterans that might benefit from programs like Gallup NYC find them and discover them?
I think one of the most critical areas would be awareness and communication. Currently, a lot of the services that veterans know about that are outside of the clinical setting, they are typically being informed about those services through the Department of Veteran Affairs Medical Center. But as we've heard today, not everyone is in the VA Medical Center pipeline. So therefore, you have to get creative and maybe even perhaps employ mandates on various agencies in terms of what they are doing outside of the VA Medical Center or outside of government agencies in order to make veterans aware. There are countless numbers of nonprofit organizations. There are organizations at academic institutions, even private institutions that might have a veterans service-oriented organization or group. And I think outreach utilizing those systems would be very helpful.
Councilmember Palladino.
Where your program takes place in what park?
In Queens.
I know
Howard
in
Beach.
Queens, but what particular park in Queens?
Gemini
It's
Fields.
Gemini Fields. We're on New York City Parks.
Okay. We also have in City Council a Parks Department that has probably one of the largest budgets, I think $600 million. You guys are looking for how much?
We are looking for $120,000 for the veterans.
Well, there you
program
go.
and $4
So
million
with
for
our measly breadcrumbs that we get, I suggest we start to take up. I'm dead serious about all of this. We
all
go to
for it.
we go to parks, and we ask parks for money for this terrific program that you are able to take part of. Until they increase the city council budget for the veterans, for the heroes of this country, whether you're passed on and you're members of family or you are active, or you are in the reserve, you are entitled to what you are entitled to. Everybody comes here on bended knee and begging for funds when this is what you are entitled to. You served the greatest country in the world. You put your lives on the line. Okay? Enough is enough. Now, you talked about other states, Virginia, Texas, all of this. Get political. Where is our state in helping you? Our city, though we're going to blow $127 billion on God knows what, you're left here begging for services that you are deserving of. So let's take it to the state level as well as the city council level. There is more than one way to skin a cat. I've been in business a long time, and I know how to think outside the box. I advise all of you to start to demand, not ask on bended knee, and figure this out, because enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're also hoping that Councilmember Palladino won't be so reserved and muted with her opinions going forward. We love it. We love it. Everybody should be. All right. Want to welcome, thank you. Want to welcome from the Veteran Advocacy Project, Coco Culhane, who I've said when she's testified previously that veterans are lucky to have her as an advocate. I can tell you, as someone that's been briefed by her and is fully aware of her expertise, that the chair of this committee is very lucky to have her as a resource. Thank you, Ms. Culhane.
You're too kind. I'm going to speak very briefly because I'm not a post 9/11 veteran. I think it's so terrific to have people here, and we need to listen to veterans themselves. I think the commissioner pointed out this is the most educated, most successful, most diverse generation, but it's also the most isolated, as we just heard. Less than 0.5% serve, and I think in New York City, that problem is really compounded by the fact that we're not a military town. Most of our vets are reserve and guard and have an entirely different experience. The last 20 years of war has seen unprecedented use of things like individual augmentees, all these things that can make transition even more difficult. And then I think you also have the fact that they're coming back to a city that, everyone in this room is involved in veterans' work, communities, it's their lives. And I think it's easy to sometimes forget how, or maybe it's not easy, but the rest of the city doesn't seem to care. I mean, there's just so little attention paid to veterans' issues. And so I think it's important that the communication, the outreach, all of that that's our duty here to make sure that people don't feel isolated, don't get lost. I think in 2012, there were like a few months when like veterans were sort of the hot topic, and there were outreach campaigns and things like that. We need to do that. We need to get back to saying out loud that we appreciate service and not making it political. I think it's unfortunate that there's a history of politicizing these things. And I think right now there's even more danger in terms of people expressing that they don't agree with foreign policy. An 18-year-old at Fort Drum has nothing to do with that. And we cannot lapse in our duty and our obligation to fill the gaps for the services. The highest rates of PTSD, brain injury, also of less than honorable discharges, which means they're not getting access to the VA. After 1980, you have to have served a certain, 24 continuous months. So there are challenges that are unique to this generation, and it is our obligation to step up and serve them. And I also just wanted to say that we support the bill, Intro 0488. HPD has a history of not always doing the best with veterans. In 2014, they rewrote the regulation so that veterans' preference had been number 2, and number 4 was listed was everyone else in the lottery. So without going into much detail, they rewrote the regulation so that the veterans' preference was applied after the lottery. If you have 10,000 people applying to a building, they pull 300, 500, and then if you're lucky enough to have been in that, then you get the veterans' preference. We can't, that's been changed, but all these, every year, it's not every year, every few years, it seems like they tweak things, and then they frame it as this positive thing. So in 2014, it was framed as, but surviving spouses are now included. Well, that was a 2010 state law, and they were finally updating the New York City regulations. So it's just another area where we need to be aware of what we're really doing and how we're treating those who serve for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Colhane. All right. At this point, I want to thank all four of you for your testimony. I appreciate it. And I'll call up our next panel, Lieutenant G. Rico Diaz, Mike Munoz, and Ricardo Garcia, and finally, Douglas Bruscher. And again, if I mispronounce your name, please correct me when you testify. And if anyone has copies of their testimony, they can give it to the Sergeant of Arms. He'll distribute it. If you don't have copies, that's okay too. We'll review the transcript and share them with the committee. We'll begin with Lieutenant Diaz when you're ready. Hello. And just turn on your microphone if you can, sir. Thank you.
Am I on? Okay. All right, good morning, Chairperson and members of the City Council. My name is, as it will say, I'm Lieutenant G. Rico Diaz. I have served 27 years in the United States military and 35 years as a paramedic and a New York City fire officer with the FDNY. I now serve as District Director and President of the American Legion Riders for the Bronx County Post 620, and I previously served as President of the FDNY Disaster Assistance Response Team with the American Red Cross. My life has been dedicated to running into emergencies this city and this nation face. Today, I am here because we are facing an emergency of a different kind, one of priorities and of civil responsibility. In recent weeks, New York City has withdrawn from several major commemorative events: the 250th anniversary of the United States, the 25th anniversary of the September 11 attacks, and the long-promised ticker tape parade honoring veterans of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom. These decisions have deeply affected the veteran community. For those of us who responded on September 11th, this is not symbolic. I lost more than 60 friends and brothers that day among the 343 we lost, and we have lost hundreds more since due to 9/11 related illnesses. These anniversaries are sacred. They are part of this city's moral fabric. We have been told that the upcoming FIFA World Cup has strained city resources. No one disputes the scale of that event, but many veterans and families are concerned that a global sporting event appears to have taken precedence over solemn national milestones and long-promised recognition. I understand resource management. I lived it in uniform and emergency responses. But budget reflects priorities, and priorities reflect values. When the city chooses what to elevate and what to postpone, it tells the people what matters. Across New York City, veterans are frustrated and disappointed. Many feel their service and the sacrifices of their families have been minimized. Veterans, Gold Star families, and first responders are asking a simple question. If New York City can host the world, why can it not honor its own? It is not only about veterans, it's about the message we send to the next generation. A city that celebrates athletes but sidelines its service members risks teaching young people that valor on a playing field matters more than valor on a battlefield. That cannot be the legacy of New York City. I respectfully urge this council to take decisive action, reinstate and schedule the ticket tape parade honoring OIF and OEF veterans, ensure full planning and support for the 250th anniversary of the United States, affirm the city's commitment to properly commemorating the 25th anniversary of September 11th. In the fire service, we say never forget. In the military, we say leave no one behind. These are not slogans, they are principles. New York City has always led this nation in resilience, patriotism, and remembrance. This is a moment to uphold that legacy. I urge the City Council to act, restore these commitments, and ensure the city continues to stand for those who have always stood for it. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Lieutenant Diaz. Beyond reinstating the parade, for which you made a very powerful case, what does doing it right look like from your perspective, from your timeline, and from the scope of city government? What should we be doing?
The recognition, small things mean a lot. Little things mean a lot. So just the fact that you're going to acknowledge veterans, as it's been testified here already, that veterans in New York City are ignored. Basically, we're a small fraction of the population, and it's very hard for us to be recognized many times. Especially back in the day, veterans that stepped up and served as reservists were not respected because they're not real soldiers. But when 9/11 proved that was a completely different program, where all reservists were called to the front line and served actively and proudly. So to change the recognition of what the veterans do for the city and for what we do to our country, a small thing like acknowledging the contributions that not only veterans did, but the children of those veterans that were mentioned today, the wives that were left behind. It was mentioned that veterans didn't get to go to school, and other states are honoring that, at least giving those veterans a chance to go back to school and finish their education. A lot of our veterans' education was interrupted because they had to go deploy and they couldn't finish school. So these are the things that can be done to recognize in a ticker tape parade or other recognition programs. Bring it out to the light. Let people know what we've done.
Thank you and for your testimony and for your service. All right, we will hear from Mike Munoz.
Good.
And please, if I said your name incorrectly, please correct me.
It's correct. It's correct, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman Morano and members of the committee. My name is Mike Munoz, and I'm an Army veteran and commander of American Legion Post 917 here in Lower Manhattan, where I work with veterans who face real housing challenges. I am also a resident of a Mitchell-Lama building, and I strongly support Intro 488. Housing stability is one of the most important factors in helping veterans transition successfully to civilian life. Programs like Mitchell-Lama provide critical affordable housing, and veterans preference policies exist to recognize the sacrifice made by those who served. But a preference policy only works if it is transparent and accountable. This legislation requires annual reporting, clear data on how many veterans apply, how many are selected, and how the system is monitored. That transparency allows leaders to identify gaps, correct problems, and ensure veterans are not unintentionally left behind. Veterans answered the call to serve our country. Many served far from home, so our communities here could remain safe and secure. I respectfully urge the committee to support Intro 488. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz. And as a sponsor of this bill, I could tell you I wish every bill I sponsored had an advocate as effective and as forceful as you are to speak on its behalf. Let me ask you, though, if we pass this bill tomorrow, what's the one problem in the current Mitchell-Lama veteran preference system that you'd want fixed first? The commissioner alluded to that they want to tweak this bill and help the council make it even better. What do you think that would look like?
And so, in my opinion, a lot of Mitchell-Lama buildings have many applicants. So once they have a certain amount of applicants, they close their applications. But once all veterans are called up from those applications, and the list still remains closed. So in my opinion, any building who has 0 veterans on their waiting list should open for veterans to apply for those buildings.
Makes sense. Thank you, sir. At this point, I want to welcome Ricardo Garcia, also of the American Legion in the Bronx.
Okay, there we go. Does it work?
There you go. Just keep it close.
Thank you, Chairman Frank Morano. Thank you, Councilmember Wong, and to all others that are in attendance. My name is Ricardo Garcia. I'm retired United States Army. 25 years I served between active duty reserve and the National Guard as a senior enlisted. I'm also a 9/11 World Trade Center responder in the military capacity. I was there from day one, from the first plane that hit till the towers fell, and to the recovery operations thereafter. With that being said, I want to kind of draw your attention to the packets that I provided you all. If anybody needs an extra packet, I have some in the back there. I'm going to start off with a real quick quote um, by John F. Kennedy. I put multiple there so you guys could use it for other military events, so to help you guys out. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live them. From JFK. I'm going to draw your attention now to this public statement from the American Legion, which was authorized by our state commanders and by which has garnered support from our also other county commanders. I represent all of the veterans in the county. Wow, I'm trying not to go over, but too late for that. Last year, on May 22nd, 2025, in a public press release, former Mayor Eric Adams committed the city to hosting the Homecoming of Heroes, a ticker tape parade honoring our post 9/11 combat veterans and their families, a historic tribute recognizing the extraordinary service and sacrifice and resilience of a generation that bore the weight of America's longest war. Recently, New York City, to withdraw from those major events, has caused an uproar within our community. At the moment that we should be preparing to lead, we are instead stepping back. The lack of commitment to these noteworthy events like the 250th anniversary, the 25th anniversary of September 11th, and more consequentially, the decision to cancel the highly anticipated ticker tape parade honoring the 25th anniversary of Operation Enduring Freedom and subsequently Iraqi Freedom has left many questioning how our city intends to properly recognize and commemorate these historic milestones. The fundamental question asked by many now is, what does New York City stand for? If not the commemoration of our nation's history and the recognition of those who defend it. It is important to understand the scale of sacrifice associated with these conflicts. According to official Department of Defense,
Continue, please.
Official Department of Defense reporting and major casualties tracking data, the human cost of these wars includes Operation Iraqi Freedom, over 4,419 service members killed. Operation Enduring Freedom, over 2,459 service members killed. In Operation New Dawn, which was the closeout, 74 had passed away. These figures represent thousands of families, communities, and lives permanently changed the service and lives that permanently changed in the service to the United States during the longest sustained conflict in American history. Yet, despite these extraordinary sacrifices, there has been no unified ticker tape parade recognition in the Canyon of Heroes for this generation. While the city has stated that hosting the upcoming FIFA World Cup has placed an incredible strain on the city resources, resulting in the shift in priorities towards supporting that event, I ask, what plausible reason do we have not to rise to the occasion and meet all of these demands together as a city, state, and nation? While yes, the FIFA Cup World Cup is a significant global event, and we understand the logistical challenges associated with hosting an event of that scale, but it cannot and must not come at the expense of honoring our country's founding, our resilience in the face of terror, nor should it diminish our obligation to recognize the sacrifices of an entire generation of veterans to whom we are eternally indebted. The mayor's proposal of a symbolic five-borough ruck march, while commendable, is not sufficient. These milestones demand more than symbolism. They demand visible, historic, and dignified recognition worthy of their significance. To properly illustrate this importance, I remind everyone of what occurred on April 30th, 1789, when General George Washington marked the birth of our American constitutional government in both a symbolic and physical way that endures to this day. After taking the oath of federal office on Wall Street, he attended service at St. Paul's Chapel and walked along Broadway, establishing a living geographic link between faith, leadership, and the founding of our republic. Broadway is more than a roadway. It is sacred civic ground. Today, it is known as the Canyon of Heroes, where For generations, New York City has honored acts of extraordinary service, valor, and national significance through ticker tape parades. These are not mere celebrations. They are declarations of who we are as people and what we value as a nation. History proves that even moments of severe crisis, New York has never abandoned this responsibility. And history makes something else unmistakably clear. Every major American military campaign for a generation of service members has been publicly and ceremonially recognized along this very route. From World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, and those who served walked down the Canyon of Heroes, welcomed home by a grateful city and a grateful nation. Every era of war was acknowledged, every generation was honored, every sacrifice was made visible, every generation except one. The veterans of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, who fought in the longest sustained conflict in American history, have yet to receive the same unified ceremonial recognition in the Canyon of Heroes. That absence is not just an oversight, it is a deviation from generations of unprecedented principle. It sends a message, whether intended or not, that their service stands apart, when in truth it stands among the greatest chapters of American military history. Even more concerning, in contrast, in priorities, at the very moment that the Homecoming Heroes Parade was being canceled, New York City Council was actively advocating and urging the mayor to host a ticker tape parade for Artemis astronauts, which to me is crazy. That should have just happened. Let us be clear, honoring American achievement in space is worthy and appropriate, but to elevate the call while simultaneously stepping back from honoring the men and women who fought and sacrificed in 2 decades of war is a fundamental question of values and priorities. In what I promise I'm going to wrap up soon.
Thank you.
My apologies.
I want to hear what you have to say, but I want to get to
Yeah.
everybody else as well.
What message is, thank you for being so gracious. What message does that stand to our veterans and their what message does that send to our veterans and families? What does it say about what and who we choose to celebrate? Today we are told that $5 billion budget gaps, is preventing us from moving forward. In 1975, in the height of the fiscal collapse, the Daily News stated forward to the city dropped dead. City officials did not retreat, they acted. They worked across federal, state, civic organizations, private sector, and other business leaders to generate the funding for this. I'm not going to move forward with the rest of this.
Thank you.
It's quite lengthy, but I just wanted to say that my question to this committee is that all New York City, state, and federal elected leaders is, are you willing to do the same today for God and country? And will you step up and ask the mayor to reverse this decision, this travesty?
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for the incredibly comprehensive and professional manner in which you've put together your testimony. I think it says a lot about the seriousness in which you approach this issue, and I can guarantee you will review every word. At this point, I want to welcome Douglas Brusher of the Jericho Project. It's good to see you, Mr. Brusher.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We hear you.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Morano and Councilmember Wong. And thank you for your opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Douglas Brewster. I'm a proud veteran from the Bronx who was spurred to join the Army after the attacks on 9/11. And I am here to advocate and express my support for the nonprofits and veteran programs that serve New York City. These agencies provide critical support, including job readiness training, mentorship, and of course, housing. The reality of economics today has made housing of extreme importance. After returning from my third tour in Iraq, I saw firsthand many veterans returning to New York City after their service are not able to afford the neighborhoods they grew up in or find jobs that would allow them to provide for their families here. To many born here like myself, New York City is the only place that I feel at home. New York should recognize that veterans are a valuable resource for the city that contributes both to the economy and community in a positive manner. I have worked for the Jericho Project, a nonprofit that houses homeless and at-risk for homelessness veterans for 8 years. I have seen how access to housing and structured programs can reduce isolation, improve mental health, and create pathways to employment. For many veterans transitioning back to civilian life, all of these services are essential. I thank the Council for all of your support, and it is needed more now than ever. Recent cuts to the VA have caused backlogs, overworked remaining case manager, and have inconvenienced many veterans in the New York City area. As Chairman Morano said, the veterans returning home will be facing a new set of challenges than previous generations. AI is changing the job market. Unaffordability is changing the housing market. For every dollar spent on prevention and support services, it can reduce the costs related to homelessness, unemployment, substance abuse, and emergency services in the future. I respectfully ask the Council to continue funding veterans programs and prioritize the decisions that strengthen our community infrastructure to ensure that no veteran is left behind. Thank you for your opportunity to speak today, and thank you for your consideration on these matters.
Very quickly, I'd love to ask all four of you, and if you could answer in 45 seconds or less. I appreciate those of you that spoke about the parade. At that same announcement that Mayor Adams made with former Commissioner Hendon, they announced not only the ticker tape parade, but an upcoming memorial for post 9/11 servicemen that's going to be in Whitestone, Queens. Just curious, one, if you guys know about that, two, what you think about it, and if you think that's an appropriate tribute for the post 9/11 folks. We'll go from this way to that way, and just if you can, just briefly.
Yes, I have heard of it. I do know that a lot of post 9/11 guys are aware of it. After the initial announcement, haven't heard much after that. It's mainly been talked about sort of in the abstract, for as far as I can tell. The announcement about the parade was made, I think, last week, that they were canceling it, and I think everyone from my generation that I know is aware of the cancellation. They echo the sentiments made by these gentlemen here.
Understood. Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, I heard about the Memorial Park memorial that they were establishing. I thought that was a done deal. Because in my experience, I joined the military during Vietnam, but I didn't serve in Vietnam. But I continued to serve in the couple of wars that we had. When I visited the actual Vietnam Memorial for the very first time, I was overwhelmed. I mean, I know what that significance meant. I think that a memorial for the post 9/11 veterans would have the same effect, because as Garcia has already mentioned, the number of people that sacrificed and gave everything, their children can visit them. That'll be important for the families, for the wives, for those left behind, to be able to go somewhere, and together these veterans can remember those that we left behind, those that we lost, and the families
So
can
you think
rejoice.
it's an appropriate
Absolutely,
tribute?
sir.
Yes, sir.
I was told about the memorial by Councilwoman Palladino, and I support it. I also heard from my post 9/11 veteran community that more input from our community should be considered, because many of them felt like there wasn't a
In the
period
memorial itself and the design, or
for the design of the memorial.
Understood.
So I feel that more input from the post 9/11 community
Got it.
should be considered.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Briefly.
I echo. I promise, very brief. I echo all the sentiments here. I was familiar with the post 9/11 memorial, and I think it's a fantastic tribute to honor all of our veterans that served in after 9/11. And I agree with my fellow Legionnaire here that more insight from the community to the development, how it should look.
Thank you all very, very much. At this point, we'll call up our next panel. Please come on up when you hear your name called. Michael Matos of Five Borough Veterans, Camille Okonkwo of the New York Health Foundation, Roman Baca of Exit 12, and Joshua Suklal of Hope for the Warriors. And again, if I mispronounce anyone's name, please correct me when you speak. We'll begin with you, Mr. Matos.
Good afternoon, Chair Morano.
Nice to see you again.
Oh, you as well. Good afternoon, Chair Morano and members of the committee. My name is Michael Matos, and I serve as the president of the 5 Borough Veterans. This September will mark the 25th anniversary of the attacks in the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the loss of the passengers of Flight 93, who courageously sacrificed themselves to stop al-Qaeda terrorists from doing further harm on the people of Washington, D.C. This September will also mark the 25th anniversary of the beginning of what will become the longest war in our nation's history. I was in the 1st grade, being evacuated from my elementary school on the west side of Manhattan when the Twin Towers came crashing down. I would soon learn that one of my role models, Captain Patty Brown of Ladder 3, gave his life to ensure the safe evacuation of the North Tower, after refusing the order to evacuate the building himself. Later on in my studies, I would learn about the great boat lift of 9/11, led by the United States Coast Guard, where 500,000 people were rescued from lower Manhattan in less than 9 hours, making it the largest maritime rescue in our history. Upon graduating high school, I would enlist in the military and serve 10 years in the Coast Guard, specializing search and rescue and anti-terrorism. We all have our own story on how 9/11 impacted us. For many of us in the military-connected community, it became the reason why we chose to serve. The decades of war that followed, however, give testament as to why serving the post-9/11 generation of veterans is complex and requires a detailed level of intentionality. Our community lived through 20 years of war, a war that we did not win. We were told that we were fighting for freedom, halting the development of weapons of mass destruction, and liberating oppressed populations from tyrannical rule. Yet after years of sacrifice, we left in a matter of months, leaving the oppressors to take control once again. One war ended, while another continued. Veteran service organizations in the VA crisis line saw an unprecedented spike in calls for help. Long nights and hours of phone calls as veterans attempted to coordinate the evacuation of their interpreters, now being hunted for assisting American forces. In the halls of government, our advocates found resistance in passing legislation to ensure care for toxic exposures, expanded higher education access, and ongoing efforts to ensure full access to medical retirement compensation. For those of us that worked on the Afghan Adjustment Act, we began receiving outreach from interpreters and their families, begging for our help and confused as to why we abandoned them. We may celebrate our service and those who we served with, but make no mistake, these wounds have yet to heal. As we continue to explore how we may best serve and honor this generation of veterans, our approach must be measured and intentional, with the community itself leading from the front. We are a demographic of business owners, students, and leaders. Our service abroad may be complete, but our impact on New York City remains substantial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matos. Do you have a feeling about what I just asked these fellows about the design of the post 9/11 Fallen Service Memorial that's slated to go up in Whitestone?
I am aware of it. Last time I heard it was an ideation. From the community itself, there was more interest in having more feedback on the design and such. So I look forward to seeing what comes of that. I'm more interested in seeing how we can work together as a community to ensure that those that are in the city are being served and recognized not only for their service, but the impact they have on the city after service.
What are the challenges that the veterans community faces in terms of not working together as a community? And what can this committee do? What could DVS do in order to, better help the veterans community organize?
I will say first, recognizing we are a community of very proud people. So as you can imagine, we have strong personalities butting heads all the time. And I say that in the best way possible. I think one of the things we can focus on is my personal focus is I know we're in a time of a division when it comes to political partisanship. My focus is trying to bring folks together beyond partisanship and working on how we can solve the problems that not only affect us as a veterans and military-connected community, but as New York in general. So I think if we all just remember that we have a dedication to service as the community and find that as our next mission, we can be successful in making that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Matos. At this point, I want to welcome Camille Okonkwo of the New York Health Foundation. Hi there.
Thank you, Chairperson Morano, and thank you, members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify today. Good morning. My name is Camila Conquo, Policy and Research Associate at the New York Health Foundation, a private foundation committed to improving the health of all New Yorkers, including our city's roughly 120,000 veterans. I'm also the daughter of a former U.S. Army sergeant and the sister of a former airman. More than 25 years have passed since 9/11, and the needs of this generation of veterans have evolved significantly. It's remarkably difficult to get good data on post 9/11 veterans. Veteran status is rarely captured consistently across health, housing, or justice systems in a granular way and at the city level. The Foundation is one of the few organizations that publishes data on veterans in New York City and state. For example, we've published research on veterans including needs assessments, deaths of despair, veteran treatment courts, and suicide rates going back a decade. From this data, we know that post 9/11 veterans are more racially and ethnically diverse, more highly educated, and more likely to be women. The research we do gives us an evidence base that doesn't exist anywhere else for this population. For instance, our research shows that in New York City, veterans die by suicide at roughly twice the rate of civilians. Some of the highest suicide rates are from post 9/11 veterans. Deaths of despair are significantly higher among veterans than non-veterans. Also, our research on veteran treatment courts designed to keep veterans out of the justice pipeline shows a promising intervention. There's a heavy overlap between VTC participants and the post 9/11 generation of veterans who tend to be younger and more racially diverse. One of the most consequential and least discussed issues is the disproportionate targeting of post 9/11 veterans, particularly LGBTQ veterans, for other than honorable discharges under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. These veterans are ineligible for VA healthcare. They are cut from the system designed to support them at the time when social determinants like financial strain and unemployment are already compounding their suicide risk. Post 9/11 veterans are more likely than prior generations to pursue education after service. The first year after separation, a period known as the deadly gap, carries the highest suicide risk. The Foundation has invested in expanding veterans' mental health services on college campuses to be where student veterans are. We have specific recommendations listed in our testimony, but broadly, we urge the city to close data gaps, support culturally competent mental health care in private settings and on campuses, expand peer outreach programs, and ensure private providers are equipped to serve veterans. The Foundation is ready to be your committed partner in building a stronger evidence base to improve the well-being of New York's veterans, and together we can make a lasting impact. Thank you for your dedication.
Thank you, Ms. Okonkwo, not only for your family service and for your testimony, but for actually offering very specific recommendations of how we can serve New York's veteran community. I promise you, I'll be taking all of them seriously. Just because it's a theme that we've heard repeated now, I do want to ask you, and whether you're speaking on your own or on behalf of the New York Health Foundation, either is fine, about your thoughts on strengthening outreach and engagement. So many folks have mentioned the outreach issue. What do you think the single biggest thing that the New York City veterans community, whether it's nonprofits, whether it's DVS, whether it's the city council, whether it's individual council members, what's the single biggest thing we can do to reach out specifically to post 9/11 veterans?
That's a great question. I'd love to get back to my colleagues just to make sure
Sure.
I'm giving you
Great.
the right information, but we'll
Great.
follow up with you
Yeah,
directly.
I'll make sure you have my email and would love to hear the answer. Thank you. At this point, I want to welcome Roman Baca, a Marine veteran of the Iraq War and the co-founder of Exit 12 Dance Company.
Thank you, Chairman Morano, City Council members, and Sitting Council. I'm going to skip the first page of my testimony because you've addressed most of it. My name is Roman Baca. I'm a U.S. Marine Iraq War veteran and co-founder of Exit 12 Dance Company. I've been working in veterans art and recovery as well as advocacy in New York since leaving the Marine Corps. I have worked and partnered with organizations such as the Mission Continues, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and several arts organizations. I lead my own nonprofit, Exit 12 Dance Company. Exit 12 started here in New York, and it's where it calls home. Currently, we have several programs running in the city across the 5 boroughs, partnering with the Intrepid Museum for our flagship program, and running programs within the Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Bronx VAs. We like to quip that the scariest word that you will mutter around a veteran is the word dance. However, I will remind you that not only is the US military the largest employer of musicians in the United States, but that every service member has learned choreography, rehearsed choreography, and might have been able to practice that choreography in the theater of war. Our work is more than just entertainment. It uses theater, music, and dance to turn veteran stories into powerful ways to connect with audiences and uncover the humans that serve beneath the uniform. Our work, funded in part by the Dwyer Program, builds community and helps individuals build a vision and shared purpose. As this council may be aware, the Department of Veterans Affairs is in process of eliminating up to 83,000 positions by the end of 2025, including approximately 35,000 of which are currently vacant. Having worked with the VA system across the country and here in New York City, I want to offer a ground level picture of what those cuts mean in practice. These cuts will not only hurt the veterans that are currently connected to the Veterans Affairs system, but will also hurt post 9/11 veterans who have not self-identified. Many people think of the VA as just a medical system. What is less understood is that many veterans look at the VA as their primary source of community. At the Manhattan VA, they host arts days. At the Bronx VA, a new coffee shop is being built where they can have coffee with their peers. And at the Brooklyn VA, veterans regularly fill the clubhouse sharing coffee, laughter, and each other's company. This kind of peer-to-peer connection is essential to reducing isolation and depression in our population. But these spaces and programs are now at risk. The VA facilities in New York City have lost arts therapists, community organizers, and clinicians. I'm going to wrap up.
Good.
And those positions are not being filled. The remaining staff are stretched beyond capacity and services are contracting. Nonprofits, including Exit 12, are stepping in to fill the gap with vital community programming. But many of us are struggling to secure adequate funding to sustain the services we are providing. I respectfully call on this council to meet with us and other nonprofits to discuss ways that we would allow organizations like Exit 12 to continue supporting the physical and mental health of New York City veterans. You could be the council members who grow this community, empower our veterans, and bring them together in shared purpose. And for that, I thank you in advance.
Thank you, Mr. Baca, and I thank you for your service and your testimony. I'd certainly be happy to meet with you and convene a broader roundtable of veteran and in the arts initiatives and non-traditional therapeutic approaches to veterans as well. And I will note that they say it's a frightening thing to bring up dance and things like that to veterans. Gene Kelly was a lieutenant junior grade in the Navy, so I think that bears repeating. All right, I want to welcome Joshua Suklal, who is with Hope for the Warriors. Hello, sir.
Chair Morano, thank you very much for having me. Hi, my name is Joshua Suklal. I am prior undocumented immigrant, prior Navy corpsman, current John Jay Master student, current staff member at Hope for the Warriors. And I just came here to say hi. How are you? Really. Because everybody that came up, and yourself included, to Councilmember Vicky Palladino, has said everything I needed to say. So all I want to say really is leave you with this. I'd like Commissioner Mata to have 200 more meetings because she has done so great since she's been in. She's honestly been really just charging ahead, trying to figure out who's who, and I commend that. And I really want to say thank you. I'd like to just also point out, I don't know why we have these bureaucratic policies and laws that just hinder us, because that's what it does. We're not being good humans, right? I'm still asking, why does the city agency have the lowest budget? Yet we're all kind of tiptoeing around this idea of a parade that the city does not need to spend money on. But what we could spend money on is our people, our veterans, the people that served us I could throw quotes at you. Someone actually said a quote that's great on the 23rd Street VA about George Washington, what he said about how we treat veterans. There's no need anymore. I've been working for Hope for the Warriors for 4 years. Within my first year, I realized what was going on. There's a lot of people in the mix. Everybody does not want to work together. And I'm here to just say, hey, just come work with me. So I applaud you to say this. May 25th, the Brooklyn Memorial Day Parade, the oldest Memorial Day Parade you'll ever see. And it's in New York. It's in Brooklyn. Please show up. And on July 9th in Staten Island, please show up to the FDNY 171, ladder 81. And I want to show you the best thing you'll ever see in your life. It's called Warrior Weekend. And it's hosted by the FDNY and myself, Hope for the Warriors. And that goes for everybody here. So come out and see how I work and see what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suklo. With the understanding that Mr. Matos mentioned that a lot of people in the veterans community have varying opinions on everything, and it's very difficult to necessarily find consensus. Just to drill down on what you alluded to about the idea of a ticker tape parade, am I clear in my understanding that you don't necessarily think that that should be a priority of city resources, is putting on a ticker tape parade for the post 9/11 veterans?
You saw yourself in that roundtable, Chair Morano. We want to do a ruck run, and it's not even for the ruck run. It's because it builds camaraderie. Do you think a parade will build camaraderie? We have the Veterans Day Parade. We talk to each other there. That's good enough. Another parade isn't going to do anything, but walking together, embracing the suck, as we would call it, running, walking, whatever it is. As long as it builds that camaraderie, we're going to get that result.
Thank you very much. Thank you all four of you for your testimony. Appreciate you being here. All right, we'll call up our next panel of Timothy Pena, Joe Bello, and Nadia Asensio. And as always, if I mispronounce anyone's name, please correct me. Thank you, Mr. Pena. When you're ready, you can kick us off.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Councilmember Morano. My name is Timothy Pena. I run an organization called Veterans Justice Project. I'm also a Navy veteran. I was present in the Persian Gulf during the Iranian hostage siege and rescue attempt, and am therefore considered disabled with PTSD as a result of that service. I come today because I had a couple of issues this week, and then I was looking at this bill that was passed today. I just want to state that I think anything that we're doing is great for the veterans. I took a look through HPD, some of the other city programs this morning. Not a whisper of whether or not we served. Still. And I don't know how long we've been told that that's been added, but I still can't find anything. And anybody that I have ever asked about housing for veterans experiencing homelessness, they've never said anything or given me any indication that we have any kind of preference over non-veterans. So that said, I do want to again comment on the issue of veterans not self-identifying. And I just leave this with, give us a reason, please, to self-identify. I've been in other communities where the veterans are there, they're out. People know who they are. They're not sitting on street corners with a homeless veterans sign like we see here in New York City. Um, on just a quick Sunday morning, I got a phone call from a father in Alabama. His son had gone missing here in New York City. We tracked him down, and we're helping him as best we can. But I was really troubled to find that he had been over to the VA hospital, been turned away because he's got a dog with him. And so I ended up getting in touch with his mental health doctor down in Alabama. We got a letter sent up stating that his dog is a service animal. But I was really troubled when I was told that Borden Avenue has been closed. And I was speaking to veterans there at
You
the
can
VA.
continue.
Thank you. I was speaking to veterans there at the VA, and we're not getting into the VA programs. We are being sent. One guy's 100% PTSD. He's in an open bay in some shelter somewhere. Couldn't even tell me where. They wouldn't even let him shave. We need our VA programs. Those programs are for us in the VA system, and we're just not getting access to it. I'm not sure what happened over at Borden Avenue. I'm going to find out this afternoon, but they are turning veterans away in the VA system to leave, whether they're veterans or not, I don't know, but they're leaving people in there with violent sex offenders who are not in the VA system, and we should have first priority at all times. There's no reason for us to be sitting on the street or walking around with a no shirt and a little dog because no one will step up to the plate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pena. Just so we can go in this direction, I'll welcome Nadia Asensio. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I'll try to be quick. The question being, what's the best way to help veterans? It's definitely, in my opinion, housing. And I'll tell you why. When I finished my contract at Southcom, Southern Command in Miami, Florida, where I met my best friend, Mike Munoz, that guy, after I finished that, I wanted to move back to the city, and I did. And of course, like most veterans, like most New Yorkers, I couldn't afford rent. So I went ahead and found out about Mitchell Lama. We signed up, he and I both together, at a building in Hell's Kitchen. I rolled around New York City like most New Yorkers, renting rooms for $1,200 a month in somebody else's apartment, you know, having to deal with whatever it is that's going on in their house. I wound up finally homeless, living in a van. And when I say a van, I don't mean like something with toilet and no, a van, a literal van for 4 months during the coldest winter in New York City. And that's when finally, after 8 years, my number came up in the Mitchell Lama building. 8 years. It was almost a decade. Why? If I'm a veteran and I had preference, why would it have taken 8 years? And there was no way for me to know if I had preference or not because there's no list. There's no way to see who was in front of me, who was behind. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. Before giving any veteran, in my opinion, you know, when you serve, you do it for your own reason. Maybe you have to go to school. Maybe you do it because you're a patriot. But ticker tape parades and the constant, like, thank you for your service, in my opinion, is unnecessary. That's ego driven. I think more important than that is to help veterans with what they actually need. And I can't think of anything more important than affordable housing, safe, stable, affordable housing, and also transparency so that the government can actually see what's going on with that. Because as a veteran that's gone through a lot of like the VA and VA this and VA that, I'm gonna tell you straight up, a lot of money is being wasted on these programs. The people who work there don't know what they're doing. They don't actually help. They don't help place you with jobs. They don't know what, none of them know what they're doing, and there's no oversight. Because of course, and I know how it works. I worked in politics for a very long time. Budgets, you know, somebody's getting paid so we can ask for the same money next year, and that's fine. But on top of doing just that, there also should be some oversight so that these programs can actually make a difference. Because if not, what are we doing? What are we doing? There's no reason why, in my opinion, veterans, like this gentleman just said, should be like, if they need to go into full-time psychiatric care, then that should be taken care of. If the VA can't do it, it should be privatized. And these departments need strong oversight to make sure that everybody who is working there is actually serving the veteran community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Just so I'm clear then, it sounds like you're certainly in favor of the legislation that we're considering, Intro 0488, with respect to veteran preferences at Mitchell-Lama Housing.
Yes, absolutely, but not just the preference, because a preference without enforcement, it might as well not exist. Why did it take almost a decade for me to get?
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just me. Like Mikey got his the year before me. So now we're in the same building. Wow, how great, right? We're so lucky to have that. But how many veterans are out on the street and just waiting and waiting? Things happen on the street. Let me just explain to you
Well,
right
at
now.
least 600. At least 600 from what we know in New York
At
alone.
least, but things
Yeah.
happen on the street. As you're waiting, I mean, I was in a van. Nobody knew I was in a van. Nobody could imagine I was in a van. At the time, I had a very, very successful YouTube channel, and I guarantee you, not one of my subscribers knew that that's what I was going through. You can't judge people on the way that they look. You have no idea what they're going through. Nothing. And when they get to the street, when you're on the street level, anything can happen from there. And even the most upright citizen with the best education ends up on the street for too long, you'd be surprised what comes out of that.
Thank you, Mrs. Senzio.
Thank you.
All right, I want to welcome Joe Bello of New York Metro Vets. It is good to see you again, Mr. Bello.
Good to see you too. Thank you. So I'm just going to make a few comments here. I think when I was glad to hear today, I think one of the problems with not just OAF, OEF veterans, but with all veterans has been the Vet Connect system. You know, going back on it several years, there was no real kind of, it was built up through Unite Us, it came through, and then for some reason, which we don't know to this day, DVS decided to go in a different direction, and for almost a year and a half, basically had a Microsoft doc that you would get into. And during that time, between that and coming to the combined arms system, a lot of vets just started to bail out the system, and not only veterans, but non-for-profits. Because if I have a veteran that presents to me at a non-for-profit and he has either substance abuse or he's suicidal ideation, I'm not going to sit there and input into a Vet Connect system that literally says you probably have to wait like 96 hours to get an answer. So you're going to make that phone call to another non-for-profit or to a city agency to get that person immediate help. So subsequently, you know, this new form, this new combined arms system requires people to like create an account. And a lot of older veterans don't want to do that. And that leads to the second issue, not knowing, you know, how many people does the agency have currently doing outreach or doing that kind of work, especially if you're getting older veterans that are coming in and are saying, hey, I'm not filling this whole form out. And most likely I'm only using it one time and I'm never, you know, you're going to fill it out for me and I'm never going to use it again. So I think that becomes a big problem in terms of getting like people and help. I mean, people will reach out to DVS, but I think in terms of using that form. The second problem would be, I think, and this is something I've written about, has been the staff. And I've written about like how the staff has been basically stretched going back. And a lot of the staff carry like they carry multiple assignments, so to speak. So they come in to do one job, but they're doing a second job, maybe a tertiary job. You know, it could be anything from doing housing and Dwyer and outreach, or it could be from doing, you know, leadership and doing entrepreneurship. So, I mean, the other thing too is looking to see when the agency will start to look at who's doing what. Certainly, they would probably argue that the claims people do a lot of, you know, like that people go to get their claims, and maybe that's where the outreach takes place. But, you know, to be clear, they're there for claims, you know, I mean, so if there's other things like who's handling that. So I think there needs to be a look and see like who's actually doing what's their primary job and what else are they also doing. But I recognize that could be also from not having enough staff. So finally, I want to express support for Intro 488, which would require the Department of Housing Preservation and Development to submit annual reports. Veterans are entitled to preference at Mitchell-Lama Housing, yet there's little public data on how that preference is implemented in practice. If we're about data and outcomes, and you've heard me testify about this before, then I think that's extremely important. Importantly, the legislation does not create new burdens on applicants or restrict access. Instead, it strengthens accountability by ensuring the city is able to track the outcomes and maintain clear safeguards around eligibility. I respectfully urge this council to pass this intro, especially since it was kind of left behind in the last council. I want to thank also Councilman Brewer, who originally addressed this Mitchell-Lama housing for veterans back in 2009, for those of us who were here in 2009, and Councilman Veronikov for reintroducing this intro and bringing it forward. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Bello, for your testimony and for your longstanding activism in the veterans community and for the great job that you do keeping both veterans and those of us that are interested in veteran policy informed on your newsletter, which is terrific.
If I may say, I did write an op-ed in September about the memorial, the 9/11 memorial.
I took note of it, and it informed some of the questions that I raised today. You have an opinion on one of the things that's come up today, the ticker tape parade?
My personal opinion is I would have liked to have seen it done. Again, full transparency, I was at the 1991 parade. So I remember what the parade was. I remember what it represented. I remember the joy. I remember the happiness, the camaraderie. I mean, if that's the case, then what do we say about the Veterans Day parade? So I personally would have liked to have seen a parade. My article, as you've read, when you balance the scale between what is a ticker tape parade, which is something honoring everybody who served in OIF, OEF, New Dawn, versus a ruck, they just don't match on the scale. Even with a resource fair. And I will say there have been a number of vets who, particularly, I think anybody from 40 older. I mean, I'm not saying everybody makes a decision, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of the older vets. I mean, if you're looking for, if this is strictly like an OIF, OEF ruck, then maybe you wind up with Travis Mannion and Five Borough and a few others, but I'm not sure what that looks like. The other thing I think a lot of us were concerned about was it was framed as tied to September 11th, but on September 13th, but it was tied into September 11th. We don't celebrate veterans on September 11th. Anybody who was here in the city on September 11th remembers that day. I certainly do. So, I think that there could have been a little more communication, not just with certain individuals, but I think the community as a whole.
By the previous administration.
I think by the previous and the current administration. I mean, look, as I wrote, if they knew there was, we know there's a budget deficit, we know there's these other things going on. It's one thing to have, and respectfully, a round table, but you're missing, those people are representing a large segment that we're not monolithic.
Understood.
And so, I think that with more communication, I think it probably would have went down a little bit better. There would have been some unhappiness, but I think it could have went down a little better. But it just felt like it was just quietly released to News 12, and then all this stuff started popping out. And veterans, like has been said, we have strong opinions about things, and you're going to get. It's great. It's not great. So,
thank you, Mr. Bello. All right, that is everybody that I have on my list of folks that signed up to testify. I want to thank everybody that came here to share their thoughts and their experiences. I certainly learned a lot. I've been jotting down different ideas for potential legislation based on some of the ideas that you guys have brought up. If there is anyone else in the room who wishes to speak but has not yet had the opportunity to do so, please just raise your hand and fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms at the back of the room. We'd be happy to hear from you. And if there's anybody that wants to stay in touch with me, I'll stick around a couple of minutes after the meeting and give you my card, and I'm happy to engage with you via email and meet in person as needed. That concludes the in-person portion of our testimony. We'll now move to remote testimony if there is anyone on Zoom. All right, so Okay, if there's anyone, if there is anyone else currently on Zoom who wishes to speak, but hasn't signed up to do so, just use the raise hand function and our staff will unmute you. And again, if there's anyone else present in the room who hasn't had the opportunity to testify but wants to, just raise your hand in person as well. I'll give you everybody 40 seconds or a minute. All right. Seeing no hands, if there are folks watching this on channel 74 or on YouTube and they decide that they would like to make their opinions known on anything that we've covered today, please, you can submit written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. That's testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. To conclude, I'm grateful to everyone that attended today's hearing. I am particularly appreciative that we have a DVS commissioner that, even though she's maybe the busiest person that I know, made sure to stay and listen to every single person that testified and seemed very engaged and took notes on what everybody was saying. And that kind of stewardship of an agency only comes with a terrific chief of staff like Nicole Orlando. So thank you to everybody for being here. So with that, this hearing is now adjourned.